Hi, yeah. Cool, so we're just going to be talking a little bit about, I'll call it a journey that I've sort of been on for the last couple of years. Sort of just figuring out, like, what software, how software developers behave, and what stuff works, what stuff doesn't. And the way I started that is, first, I'm not a software developer, technically. Well, my literal job title is actually software developer, but don't let that distract you. I actually just sort of picked this stuff up over the course of it's about 7 years now. What I started doing was, basically after the first month or so of coding, I said, all right, what's really important about this, and how am I going to try and define that, is by everything I learn, I'm going to try and figure out how to teach it. And not just teach it, but teach it to like a really specific demographic, well, a demographic that has no filter. So I chose children. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what stuff works, what stuff doesn't. Some of it will be obvious, some of it's kind of a surprise, and I will say it's a pleasure to do every single time. So this all started when I actually lived in Texas. And it started out, at first I was doing just one-on-one tutoring with one student, and it was, he basically wanted to know, what's this coding stuff about? I was like, pretty much in the same boat. But it slowly evolved into actually a classroom of kids, and like I said, there's 7th and 8th graders, so it's kind of a mix. They're always kind of coming through, and it's also on a trimester-based schedule, so we have essentially 3 classes per year. So then we moved kind of from the classroom to remote teaching, because I moved here, honestly. I'm actually from the area, but I moved down to Texas for a while and I moved back. So the interesting thing is, and this is interesting and obvious, is you take something kind of complicated, kind of difficult, like software development, and then you make it a little bit harder by teaching it to kids. You make it even harder by teaching it to kids remotely. And then you really see what lasts and what doesn't in that particular environment. So there, you probably heard this conversation a lot too. This difference between like soft skills and hard skills. I tried, like, in a sense, saying, like, all right, here are the 10 things you need to know how to code. I tried that approach. And I found that one of the biggest things you lose from that approach is you get what I call the kind of rock stars. But for every rock star you get, you lose about 10 people who could be rock stars if you would have been able to do it at a different pace. So after I did that, I changed it up and said, all right, let me change the pace and make it longer. And what you end up getting is no rock stars. That quickly became something that I realized that model just needs to be abandoned, because it's just not functional. Either you're going to get 1 or 2, or you're going to get none. So I switched around to be more of an emphasis on soft skills, and in a sense of like collaborating and how to work together and how to teach each other, and focusing almost entirely on that. I started out doing a lot of like instruction in the sense of like, cool, open up your browser, do this, and that worked, like I said, but it was much better when I turned that around and made that their responsibility. Of course, I would say responsibility, but I ladled it with a whole lot of opinion, So it's a little bit of indoctrination is okay when you're teaching. So the tools we used, you might be familiar with some of these: Slack, Pivotal Tracker, Cloud9, and GitHub. A big part of like really teaching at all, or really just doing what we do as software developers at all, is like this tool sets. I would call them not necessarily the DevOps part of it, but sort of like what does your toolbox sort of look like. And generally what it's for, and this is sort of a theme, is that they're for communicating. Slack is for communicating with people. Pivotal Tracker is for communicating about the project in the form of it's a project management software. Cloud9 is actually about communicating with a computer. It's an online IDE. And GitHub is obviously about communicating about your code. And so that was kind of the tool set that I decided to go with, based on experience and also based on actually what works universally. And then the technology. Of course, we know there's like hundreds of program languages, and now like the rubrics and how to actually build them, so hundreds if not thousands soon. So like how to pick a language and like data storage and all those kinds of options. And I sort of like narrowed that down to a set that really works for building just about anything. Everything. And I say just about anything in the form of like a digital product to like a robotics. So something that essentially touches all those things. So for data storage, MongoDB, I don't know if you're familiar with that at all, but that is like a NoSQL database. Neo4j, that's a graph database, and Redis. And then for the like front-end development is like this is your class 3, HTML, CSS, JavaScript. And then for the back-end, Node, because it's more JavaScript. And obviously, I like JavaScript a lot. So, you know what? Sue me. So, another big thing that actually comes up a lot that's really hard to talk about because it's really not clear to define are actually the concepts. So, what are the concepts of software development? So, if you kind of start bundling them, you start to see themes, but there are some key concepts, there's new concepts, there's some emergent concepts. So I sort of picked stuff from all those different kinds of horizons. So one of the concepts is machine learning. Like, what does that look like? How does that actually work? Another is like artificial intelligence. What is that? How does that actually work? Another one is like Internet of Things. Another one is simply just coding in general. How does coding actually work? What it looks like and what you do is not really, it doesn't really reflect what it is. So these concepts are all sort of just things that people talk about and we talk about. We're all still trying to figure out. But to introduce those concepts is actually a step in itself. So yeah, essentially our journey in the class is basically about going from uncertainty to a way of talking. And that's a really important thing to recognize early on. It's like you're not actually going from uncertainty to this is how you do it. In fact, there is never this is how we do it. There's always just a way of talking about the thing we're planning on doing sort of collaboratively maybe. Right? That's as certain as we ever get. And that's a really important thing to recognize early on, especially if you're a brand new developer or if you've been doing it a long time and you're frustrated. What's probably causing frustration is because you decided that things are away. Things are never away. Things have never been away. So all we ever really get is a way of talking. And that way of talking could be like, yes, we're making an app, and we're talking about that app, and the app solves some problem. But that's about it. That's like the highest resolution you can get as far as solutions go. So one thing that's really important when like teaching kids really in general, for a lot of people for learning, is project-based learning. So the hard part when you're deciding like to really teach people at all, or teach kids, doesn't matter who, is deciding, well, what's a good project? Like, what's a problem to solve? And essentially what I did, and what turned out to be like a really good approach, is to not have any idea of a problem or a project. Just to literally be like, I don't know, it's a blank page. So what we do is we just start off saying, what's in your world that matters? For them, they had all sorts of different things, and because that demographic, every demographic, has their own set of concerns. But they had a carpool issue. So, where they had really long lines for carpool, their school's kind of far out, so it's always very, very frustrating. So we just basically started talking about that. Say, tell me everything that's wrong with carpool. Tell me everything you like about carpool. Everything that carpool gets you. Trains, games, doesn't really matter. You basically just start talking about what carpool is in their context. So once you have that kind of conversation, and it's like, yes, we have this problem. Yes, we have this thing we want to solve. You can start looking at methodologies. How can we actually solve it? So there's lots of ways to solve problems. A popular way these days is agile project development. There are a lot of shops implementing it. Everyone implements it differently. Everyone has a slightly different definition. So that is a challenge to you to figure out, well, which one should I do? So just sort of in case you don't really understand the agile process, agile is basically a way of building things. You can use agile to make anything, that methodology. And the methodology roughly goes like you build a backlog, you iterate on it daily, whatever it might be, and then you have an acceptance and rejection phase. And that is a gross summary of agile. There are lots of opinions on agile, so don't take mine for it. You're not here to hear about agile. You're here to hear about how I use agile. So don't quote me. So yeah, another really key component of software development that comes up a lot, that really all teams struggle with, is this idea of alignment, basically. How do we actually know what to make? How do we actually know what to build? How do we actually know how we solve the problem we've identified? So we've built in these activities where essentially you use note cards and you say, well, what are all those different things that matter to us? So in our case, it was, and these are just two pictures of a great deal of things to talk about. But we said, all right, teachers are really concerned with carpool. Like, why, right? Because teachers have to get on the radio and tell people where they are, and that sucks, they're struggling with that. Time is a big component of carpool, and like, well, why? Because like, you spend a bunch of time in line, and you're waiting in the classroom, and and all these problems that have to do with that. So the reason why we have them actually draw these like cards and actually kind of color them in and do that kind of thing, why would you put that extra effort into doing that, is it actually makes it a center of attention, makes it a focus. And in fact, we've seen that when you sort of actively learn, use other things and just like, oh, it's just a list and that's what we think is important, but you make that list, put it on cards, basically keep interacting with it, keep playing with that like in all sorts of different kinds of ways, you end up remembering it. And this again increases that like level of alignment that everyone's thinking about the same thing and thinking about the problem the same way. The idea is it's really trying to extract as much conversation about what you're trying to do as humanly possible. It makes it so you don't have to think of anything, like think of any ideas or think of problems to solve. It's like everyone knows what they're thinking about. Then we start talking about the different events that occur with carpool in our case. So we laid it all out. So we said, all right, there's like waking up in the morning, all the way to getting a call from a parent or another student, whatever it might be, all the way to getting a backpack from a locker, all the way down to getting in the car finally. And all of this again addresses this issue of uncertainty where everyone is essentially unclear on what to think. And these events actually start giving us a kind of a chronological look at what the problem actually is. And once you can actually see that, it makes it much easier to know what should we actually make. So it's at that point that we start to sort of put it all together. We say, okay, like we know about these things called this thing called artificial intelligence, machine learning, and all this kind of thing. But how can that help us with this problem? Like, what can we actually do with those things to actually make something to do with this problem? And in part, what we found was this app that they eventually wanted to make, which actually came from this. The app that we actually wanted to create wasn't this really dramatic app or anything else. It was actually just we needed something to check in and check out. But it turned out, based on how we actually laid out the problem, that the biggest pain point in that entire process was like, all the kids and everybody has to have a way of checking in and checking out, and that usually takes like 10, 20 minutes. So now once you have that, that's not everything either. So once they found that, they said, well, what can we do with that? How can we turn that into a bargaining chip, essentially? So one of the kids is in the student council. So we decided to think, well, how can we use that? We can save 10 minutes on a carpool out of every person's day. And they proposed the idea, like, well, we should be able to get like 10 minutes longer recess, 30 minutes longer recess. Because technically speaking, if you save the school 20 minutes, 10 minutes per person, I feel like we deserve a longer recess. So based on that, they were actually able to kind of develop what this product would do and what the product would look like. So that whole process of basically just figuring out what to do, like as far as my involvement went, it's just kind of like that. It's just like, sure, yeah, maybe that sounds good. I find that on the instructor level, it's really good just to not actually say ever what to do. It sort of doesn't make sense, but it really does actually give you better results. But however, you do get to the point where you do have to actively communicate. You do have to actively say, like, all right, it's time to go to this, and now we're on the same page. Remotely, that's difficult. In a classroom, it's much easier. But so what we did is, if you're familiar with Slack at all, you can kind of use you can set statuses. So we made kind of a system, just an internal system, to say, hey, if you have a question, change your status to that end in there. Or you can use the question mark if you have like a concrete question. If you just have an idea or a comment, we have several different kind of symbologies that we decided to follow that helped to actually like keep the class connected. And it wasn't necessarily me that answered those questions either. Other students would be like, hey, like, oh, who prepares a question? Like, I could probably address that. So it wasn't necessarily always an instructor responsibility, but just a whole class, a whole team responsibility. Now again, if you're familiar with Agile, this is probably no surprise to you, but we take all of those ideas, all of those thoughts, all those concepts, and kind of throw them all into a backlog. Or iSlots, if you want. So basically, it's like, here's like concrete descriptions of what features we actually need to make for this app. So that's what we did. We basically threw all of our ideas into a backlog, and we said, all right, this week we're going to do these 3 things. This week we're going to do these 3 things. And of course, it's like about a 15-minute class, 50-minute class, 3 times a week. So you really have to be kind of precise with like what kinds of stuff you pick and choose. One of those things is design. So, like, what should the app actually look like? What should it actually do? Those kind of concepts come up, and they're treated just like stories, like anything else. So, all that is kind of baked into the project. And then bringing in a sense of understanding that budget is important. I often kind of say, and this may or may not be true, there are other elements. But the difference between sort of a novice developer and an expert developer is not necessarily like a concrete measurement of skill. It's more so if someone says, hey, can you make me a website? Novice developer might say, yeah, sure. Ask that same question to an expert developer, like, hey, can you build me a website? They'll say, yeah, sure, and it'll take me like 6 weeks, right? That fundamental difference of like providing an estimate is really important. It's really important. It allows other people to actually make predictions based on what you're saying. So what you end up, when you go from novice to advanced to whatever you might be, is you get better at estimating what you can and can't do within a particular bit of time. So developing that sensibility was a huge part of it. Where we said, okay, we're going to make this thing, and we're going to take 10 minutes, and we just basically set a timer. Now, the important thing to understand is missing an estimate is not bad. It's just you update what that actually means. So you start to understand, like, well, what does it actually take to make a title bar? It's like, oh, it takes 3 classes. It's really important because then you can actually, from that, be like, okay, can we get this whole app done this semester? So that's just a huge part of the process, and it's something that they can't, like, essentially, in a sense, came up with and had to manage and had to discover how all that worked. Then understanding role is really important. So as a software developer, there's just a whole lot to think about. And you're always working with a lot of other different kinds of people that are also thinking about different kinds of things. So the kinds of roles we had were like, hey, like project manager. Like today I'm going to do project manager. So I'm going to check in and see how all this stuff is going, see what I can do to help, see what else you need. And that's what I'm doing today. Sometimes like, hey, I'm ready to code. So they just be like, okay, I'm just going to be working on this particular thing type sound. But essentially they kind of self-organize at how they wanted those things to be, like what they actually even wanted to do for those roles. So that there's not even any instruction other than the title of what that role might be. Pair programming might be something you've heard of kind of lately too. So like what's like the point and necessarily the benefit of pair programming too? It's like the idea is kind of roughly like, 2 people with 1 keyboard, so you're kind of always talking about the code, you're always coding at the same time. And we did that. So, like, no matter what, anytime you're making something, you actually made the same feature. But as much as I love pair, the idea, and I've seen some of the metrics and the cost, and it looks good, I like to use a keyboard. Like, and I feel like everybody should be able to type on a keyboard. So, like, in Cloud9, you can kind of think of it like sort of, if you've ever heard of it before, if you haven't heard of it before, sort of like a Google Docs for code. So you can see other cursors, and you can see like shared terminals. You can see shared results. It's amazing. But of course, it works really well for web development, really well for certain kinds of development. But if you're looking at like kind of lower level designs, you can actually like run the code there, compile it, but it's a little bit more rough. But for the kind of development that we were doing, it's an absolutely wonderful tool. It also kind of simplifies the DevOps side of it, where we don't have to think about, well, where are we going to put this? Is it going to be on the server? How does all that work? A really big part of understanding the software development cycle was to sort of just like skip all that. I know it's a ton of detail that you sort of like ignore. Like, well, I don't know where my database is. Like, I personally in the future would like to never care where my database is. So, But yeah, also managing all that kind of that DevOps level, like who has access and stuff like that, was all part of their responsibility. So yeah, all the collaboration was essentially in real time. So they wrote all the code together. That includes all the documentation and how all of that stuff works and even what it says. As a result, it looks like a bunch of Sabbath integrators did it, which is amazing to me. That's a very idea. But they also kind of decided what stuff is important based on that. I manage it basically the same way, like one or two little like, hey, think about this, but never any like concrete direction what to do. As a result of that, generating your own documentation, you kind of end up making your own guidelines and rules. For example, if one of them discovered, I know how to push stuff up to GitHub. The problem with that is like, well, there's 6 other people who know how to do that, and that guy with experience isn't helping. So how do we do that? It's like, let's make a doc. And so we actually use this doc and actually figure out how to push it up together. And the doc will be about pushing something up to GitHub. It gets very meta. But that was a really fun discovery that they were just able to figure that out, and it's actually it was a pretty accurate little like how to push something up to GitHub doc. So yeah, challenges. This is hard, right? All of this is kind of hard to take it on. It's not block code or anything. It's actually like actual code using the real tools. This is terminal output of like the struggle to figure out how to put stuff up to date. And if you've done this before or if you're brand new, like this is what you're going to go through. This sort of mess of like, wrong command, wrong this, wrong that. Tons of failing. Failure after failure. The interesting thing about collaborating and failing together is you only fail together one time. Maybe twice. But it's a beautiful thing, and it's not something you want to prevent. That's the biggest mistake I made when I first started. Is I was like, I don't want them to trick you or mess up on this, so I'll make these documents and do all these things. The biggest mistake I ever made, because I ended up not really knowing when it comes back around, they end up failing anyways. So it's better to be like, all fail together, and I'll just kind of wait. This usually takes about a day and a half. Yeah, and eventually it's like, you don't have to know all the details of how Git works. Just say, merge, just like, it's a reflex. So you let them develop the reflex together. And of course, there are like these supplementary tools like GitHub. So it's like, all right, version control, what is that? I don't want to have a really long conversation on that, so I don't really say what version control is. I don't even use the word version control. I use no technical vocabulary. I don't even mention that this is code. I let them define all of that. There's too much stress and too much energy actually put in names, and it's completely irrelevant. It's completely irrelevant to solve the problem that they're trying to solve. So, yeah, the only thing I said was make sure you guys are doing pull requests. You say that and you run. It is absolutely hilarious to see people really trying to figure out why is that important and what is that. And anyone can do it. You just have to have that little seed of like, why is that important? Okay. And they did. They have hundreds of, maybe hundreds, dozens of pull requests. The first, again, was a challenge. There's so much pain. There's so much pain shared in the room. It's beautiful. So yeah, and peer review is a big thing. A big part of it is, again, I roll and say, make sure that you get at least 200 people review that pull request. You leave. You don't even know what that means. No one knows what that means. Review? What does that mean? Does anyone actually know? This is exactly how you review. So what's your checklist? Everyone has different checklists. They do too. So of course the conversation sounded like it's a bunch of seventh and eighth graders talking about arbitrary code that they have no idea what's going on. But that's pretty much my life. It's like we make it more tricky by using like more tricky syntax and things. And like, we got big words, so we know what's going on. We don't. No one does. So yeah, of course, iteration is a big deal, right? So as you're going through these, the green ones are like all done stories. So as you're going through these, there's like starting to go through these stories. But yeah, we got that feature. We're starting this one. We're getting ready for this release. This is all self-arranging. So even like how they're switching up roles. Someone trying to like, I'll be the project manager this time. Oh, I'll be a product manager this time. I'll be the developer this time. You got a lot of code to write. You need to change your role. All right. And it's great. I have a couple of these conversations recorded. It's just hysterical. Yeah, and through that, they actually start discovering things like global collaboration. Because, of course, one of their stories is like, oh, we want to be able to use jQuery to do this particular thing. How they discover jQuery is kind of beyond me. So the tool we use to solve the problem sounds good. So they start developing their own ways of talking about things. But just naturally, they start realizing that, now they realize, let's just think on the package manager. We do all sorts of stuff. And it's funny, because sometimes they'll be like, from other kids doing things. It's like, I don't know there's necessarily a bunch of other kids doing these packages, but maybe a few. But yeah, so this kind of connects them to like the larger world of development, all just organically. Probably the same way a lot of us actually got connected to it. Yeah, and at some point, of course, they're actually building something. So they actually use a library, I wish I knew the name. But they come with their own names and things, right? So library packages, they have like their own way. They call it like something else. So they're going to kind of misuse the names. We all kind of do this. It's a repo, it's a library, it's a package. Yes, so the same kind of way they use a library called Moment.js, if you've heard of it, to basically make that clock for them. So that's one of their discoveries. They figured out, in a sense, how you can copy-paste code, very straightforward, from like places like just as Express to make a server. Again, just defining their own way of talking about software development. And not just copy-pasting, I should sort of take a note of that. Copy-pasting is first, then it always kind of turns into like you have to write it yourself, because it doesn't, that only works for so long, and especially so it gets very specific based on what they said they actually mean. So there's also this problem. That I said it's in trimesters, so this happens three times in a year. So where you have this hello goodbye moment, where it's like, oh hi current students, bye former students, some overlap, some not. Typically there's like one or two people still kind of left over. So you're thrown back into the same loop of uncertainty, where it's like, well now no one here has those definitions, no one knows what a pull request is, and you start all over. But you don't. You actually don't start all over. You put the entire onus of catching up, like to what's going on them. And you say, all right, you got 3 new people that have no idea what's going on. Like, figure it out today. And they do. They do. And they do it in this very specific way, by glossing over a lot of what's important. I know. And it seems bizarre. It seems like, well, they need to catch up with the entire semester. It's like, no, actually, they only need to catch up with what's next. They only need to know what's happening next. They only need to know that, oh yes, we're making a clock. And it's a very small bit of information, and they can do it in a day, and they do. Interesting thing about that is they also start using their own procedures. It's like, oh cool, let's make a team markdown file. We can keep track of who's been on the team. That's not something I did. So they make the story, they work the story, they push stuff to GitHub. Literally as a team, as an onboarding tool. They say, hey, this is GitHub. This is how you push stuff up to GitHub. We're making this team markdown so you can be in this document. And we're going to do it. And we're going to do those same reviews. And all of it just sort of becomes this natural, oh, that's just how you do this sort of behavior. All, of course, littered with all sorts of little mistakes the whole way through, too. And then at this point, they're essentially self-arranging. They decide what things they want to work on, what features are important, what features are not important. They move it around. This is, I would call, around the halfway point in the class. This is around when this starts to happen, is when I literally just start showing up, being like, hi, what did we do last time? And I don't know anything else. And I don't even contribute. Great. So, the only thing I kind of said would be kind of like, take your finger out of your nose every now and then. They don't do that, but it's basically that. So they also make up different things to prioritize. Although in software development, things like branding start to become important. It's like, well, we need to put the title in. We don't like the title anymore. We say we gotta give this thing a real name, and we want to use the old members of the team. And we want to use different graphics. And now, we know how to put images in. That's not a concern. We want to make the image now. So even the concern of the project starts evolving. Yeah. And at this point, you have this ginormous hodgepodge of concepts, GitHub pushing, collaborative coding, and people doing stuff. And what's really interesting is when you're actually like listening to the conversations and listening to what they're actually talking about, what they're actually saying, you hear like almost quotables. That's like, I hear that in the office. I heard that same frustration like here. Like I heard managers say the exact same thing. I can't believe we keep missing estimates. We're not going to get to the clock feature. It's like, oh, that's very interesting. But, yeah, and so it's just a human thing. This whole software development thing is just a human thing. Even like how to arrange and how to make it, it's just a human thing. It's just a matter of getting the tools in the right space and just sort of being like, I don't know, figure it out. That's the whole game. So my absolute favorite moment that I look for every trimester is this. It's when it cuts into someone else's time. So this one, the student's kind of talking about, hey, I'm in Spanish class, I got special time, I'm going to do this instead. I'm working on one of these stories and having a real kind of like frustration about why do we have this thing done yet? And like just dedicated to the idea of getting this thing complete on someone else's budget. It's amazing. Great feeling. So like it kind of comes out to a collection of points. I think I put it all in this category just called tone. So you really want to design experiences that reward soft skills. That is for a specific reason that you don't end up leaving people behind because people become the point. So you never ever have a problem of like, I have heroes or I don't have heroes. Like, no, everyone is a hero and everyone lifts each other up. Discovery over prescription. That's really important. I don't ever like say, this is the 10 things to know. It's more like, here's the thing, it's called this. Leave. Failing out loud. Like that just essentially means like, hey, like when we fail, we don't hide it. We do it together and we do it publicly and we don't really shame each other for not knowing things. So that's just not helpful. Then also fulfilling the inherent desire to organize. Like basically, people like to work in groups. People like to like think, I'm this role, I'm this person. I'm Batman, you're Superman. And like you hear like little kids talking, it's always like, yeah, we're all Superman. Like, that's all like that desire just to kind of organize. And then you have this agile principle that's really important, and one of the important in the final ceremony, which is reflecting and iterating. So basically being like, hey, we just got through that story. What are our wins? What are our losses? Like what worked? What didn't? Cool, that's great. Cool, let's do the next one. That little bit of effort at the end of every story is like imperative to really evolving a process. And here we are. So, yeah, it's a really fun, very like long process to figure out that I don't actually have to do anything. Like, I really wish I had a better way of saying how important that is. But it's more a setup. So I'm kind of reminded, I wish I could remember the source on this, but there was this like experiment done where essentially someone took a computer out to this really arbitrary neighborhood. In this really, I think it was in India, or I can't remember what it was, but a place where they don't have any computers. And what they did, they took that computer out, they set it out in a public space, and they just left. Right? And said, well, what's going to happen? All right, I don't know. They left and they came back and they found that the kids actually that were using the computer had all sorts of computer-related questions. Hey, we want to install Microsoft Office, and we'd love to get a faster internet connection, and like all these kinds of questions that just essentially happen automatically. So you sort of take that idea that people are just naturally inclined to interface with machines in this kind of way, interface with people-oriented machines this way, and say, all right, well, how do you interface with software development? What things work? What things don't? Just throw it in a pile and see what happens. And it turns out, like, you end up hearing and seeing the exact same things you see in, like, the best of the best businesses, having the same kinds of conversations and driving them forward with the same kind of momentum. So this is a couple of success stories. One of the kids that actually went through this, he ended up going out to a program at MIT and for machine learning, and he was a junior then. No, he wasn't. He was a ninth grader then. He was heads and tails above the whole crew. Heads and tails above the whole crew because this is part of this process. He actually, how would we call it, getting in trouble? I don't say confuse the model by actually using machine learning, and also, if you're familiar with Watson, to do a history homework. We made an app that essentially looked up all the answers at a time. So, and it also used Google, you basically turn on his phone, it listened to what was happening, it just spouted out answers. And he was very forthcoming with the whole process and how to make it work, and wanted to share it. And they said, you know, no more homework for you. So, like, this process just works. Just throw in a file with all the stuff, all the things, and see what comes from it. It just works. So, yeah, so that's basically my entire journey through this, and I have summers off. I do this actually while I'm working. I think it's kind of important to stay connected to the actual process. I'm still evolving as well. I'm still learning JavaScript. I'm always learning JavaScript. And I basically don't eat lunch Monday, Wednesdays, and Friday, so I can do this. So if you are someone in here who's like into developing, into programming, like I can only just like super encourage, teach it right away. Start helping someone else. That's the only way to sort of get like rapidly better and truly test your understanding if you really understand the material. Yeah, I just like being nice. All right, that's it. Cool. Any questions? Yeah.
If you are interested in teaching and exploring that more, other groups you would recommend maybe reaching out with, working with,
yeah, there's a couple of areas of town. Of course, I actually am an instructor at co-learning, so that's every so often we actually have one of those courses up. There's also Grand Circus, it's fantastic. In particular, working with kids, I've actually been really heads down on getting the process figured out and like systematizing that process and how to do all this. I'm actually working on a Trello board or some kind of a release where you can basically walk through, see the activities, and just like take it. I kind of like follow the open source spirit of like, hey, like take all the things that I know for free. So yeah, I don't know. I'm still kind of on that quest myself to really kind of connect to the community to figure out what's going on in this particular area. So I was doing a lot of it also, I'm not fully connected to this area. But yeah, does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Cool. Any other questions? Yeah.
Were there areas like along the way, like certain things that were happening where you did have to step in a little bit more into the right direction? And if when there were, like, how did you kind of go about that?
Yeah, funny enough, it's the exact same areas you do with adults. They're called behavior adjustments. There's like, oh, this person won't really work with, he's not working really well with this person for some reason, right? Like I said, pull your finger out of your nose, like that kind of thing. So like, and I think the only difference you end up dealing with, like I had a really good group of kids, really good, really well behaved, like really didn't have to like spend a lot of energy on that. But the biggest difference you'll see between any group really is just the amount of time to actually produce something. So what you need to just do is understand that that's a flexible component. Because sometimes I've had troublesome groups, more troublesome groups, that yeah, things just take longer. But like I said, when it comes to like estimating, it's like, all right, an hour for me might mean 2 hours to you, but that doesn't mean it can't be done. So the production is never the problem. It'll always be the people too. So yeah. Any other questions on that? Yeah.
So in the beginning you mentioned outcomes, like you had one rock star, and the rest of the kids were kind of not. So what was the outcome with this kind of process?
Yeah. So like the outcome with this whole process so far has really been that the list of things to know is much smaller than I thought it would be. Like the list of like behaviors to enforce is tiny. I thought to really like be able to transfer like how do you do software development stuff would be just like a book. It's turned out to be more like a pamphlet. So like the biggest outcome from this whole process has really been like, okay, like it's actually just a couple of things to keep asking and to just keep evolving those little things to ask. And really that the emphasis over like soft skills and hard skills, which I know this is like almost really a buzzword at this point, but the data just doesn't disagree. Like the biggest benefits I've seen in any group is groups that get along well, produce better things, and that's no surprise to anybody. But to really figure out the why in that has been the challenge, and definitely where the trick is. And that really comes from, okay, we all have to be thinking about the same thing the same way. So that's where you introduce stuff like the note cards to be like, hey, why do we feel? Is teachers important? Is this important? yeah, you really keep asking those questions and keep building on like, yes, we are going to make this app. Yeah, it's like a hype train. If everyone's on the hype train and everyone's really thinking about it, everyone's energized about it. But if you don't have that, that's when it fizzles. That's when conflict starts coming in. That's when people start saying, I want to do this versus this. And it happens every time. So, so yeah, and I've kind of tried like to force the other ways, you know, like poor kids. But like, I've really tried to emphasize, no, like I feel like these things are important because, like, you know, especially if you're in the field, it's like, yeah, like this language is important, this methodology is important. It's never the case. Like, you know, one thing to say is like what is talking development? You know, it's like 90% talking, 10% coding. I'm leaning more on these days like 95% talking, 5% coding, and like 2% of that is coding. It's ridiculous. So, yeah, but it's really important if you really want to produce the right things for people. You have to hear people out, a lot of people out, different people out, and you have to struggle with that, deal with that. But I mean, as developers, it's like we're always dealing with challenges like that. This is a small challenge compared to the games. But yeah, hopefully that answers every question ever. Any other questions? Yeah.
So, just kind of curious, how do you balance them into projects if they have issues typing?
Oh yeah. Okay. So yeah, right. There are many different rungs. I would say in a sense, like I wouldn't necessarily call it a horizon, right? But there is a challenge in and around how do you actually interface with these particular machines in general when like typing is the problem, right? Great part is a lot of it doesn't have to do with typing. What you have to do is build up the desire to type, not necessarily training typing in general, not necessarily coding in general, because that same barrier is the exact same barrier people see when they see a stream of code, like that Ken type. They say, oh, I don't know what semicolons, like brackets. It's the same exact resistance. Like, this isn't me, you know? Like, I have to like know what colons mean, like colors. It's the same exact kind of resistance you see. So what you do is instead is like put something just after that. So like, you know, we want to make this problem, and we've talked about it so many times, and we've drawn what it looks like. We have a really clear image of what we want to do. And there's just this tiny thing called typing and coding in a way. So you minimize it, you greatly minimize it, and you do that through the structure of the course itself. So, yeah, it's tricky. It's tricky. It's not a lie, right? Technically, you're solving a problem. But that's the hard part. Screens of code are scary. So, hey.
So have you done any research on the age group and what kind of challenges that you can ask them to work on?
Yeah, that's tricky too. Yeah, there is a threshold. I've done work with some kid that was 6-year-old. From 6, my threshold so far was 6 to like 14. I'm specifically targeting this sort of difficult group because it's hard. You know, that's the point. So, yeah, I would say the threshold is like learning to type. Learning to type, not necessarily can't type. Learning to type is the threshold, and it's not necessarily attention. So it's like for example, a 6-year-old who can barely type, right? It's perfectly fine. What you do is you work with that. It's like you don't try to go, we're doing this, then we're doing this, then we're doing this. You have to let them decide what is happening and what they're doing. And you essentially just guide that in. So you put that into the framework of essentially story writing. To be like, hey, what's this thing you want to do? Cool, let's break it into pieces into stories. Cool. It's like, all right, what's the very first thing to do? Oh, you need to go to the bathroom. Sure. So you let that happen. But really, it's not necessarily building a list. It's more so building a stack of stories to tell and let them tell that story at whatever pace we're doing. So, yeah, that's good. I haven't worked, I would say, honestly, working with adults is harder. They come in with a whole lot of thoughts and feelings, you know, like kids have no filter. They'll straight up tell you, I'm not having fun with this. And or adult will be like, I'm not having fun with this, but I'll just kind of not listen. I'll just sort of think of my bills to pay and things, you know, I don't know, because we have all sorts of skills of hiding how we don't like things. The kids, it's like, I like this. Kick the table over and leave. You're more like, well, I need to change. You know? So yeah, just basically keep that behavior. That's where we get our best stuff. When someone's like, yeah, this doesn't appeal to me. You know, that's beautiful to me. So yeah, that's understanding how that kind of works. But yeah,
same kind of teaching for the
Right on.
age groups. I do have challenges picking the kind of technology stack I want to focus on. It varies, right?
Yes.
20-year-old may choose something complex than an 8-year-old.
Yes. Yeah, this stack choice is very specific. Yeah, because what you end up running into is you want to avoid DevOps. And if anyone's kind of familiar with that, the idea of like, hey, where are we going to host this? Where are we going to have those conversations? Because they really drain the energy. Like they drain the energy completely. And like it's like, what does this have to do with making a clock? I don't understand.
Yes.
I need a server? You know? Like, what is this? You want to talk about servers? No one wants to talk about servers. So the reason why I chose the stack is it says, you don't need to know that. You have a web browser, like you have literally like $70 laptop, you're good to go. You can make it Google, you know, if you really wanted to.
What's your backup plan when the network fails for this text?
You don't do work. Go outside. Who was like that's funny because I get to take criticism, but all of the work that I do is actually online too. I'll just say it, I'll admit it, folks. I don't have a realistic local setup. I don't. That computer that I have in my backpack when it's not on the internet does nothing. So I'm not ashamed. I'm tired of being ashamed. No, it's important. Like, I make web apps. If the internet's down, I'm done. I'm done for the day. You know? Like, get the internet back up, we can talk. You know? So that's pretty much my stance. Like, people's like making balloons go in the air so everyone's on the internet. Why am I about to be concerned with being connected? You know? I'll take the day. Yeah, that's pretty much my policy on it. It's certainly not popular, and I'm obviously ridiculous. So, whatever, right? It's the future.
I'm just going to rephrase that slightly. What do you do with the kids when that happens?
Oh, yeah. Well, that's when we have all the other parts.
Okay.
So story writing in itself, you can just do on note cards. You don't you always make sure to have some tactile stuff, note cards and sticky notes. So when that happens, it's like, cool. Good thing we spent like 6 days like drawing all those things. Let's try and expand some of those. You just bust that out and be like, that's what we're doing. Of course, when it happens when kids remotely, that's the end of this. That's the last thing they see of the day. So, but it doesn't happen often. But it is a concern. Like, not everyone has perfect internet, but it's a people game. So it's like you always are kind of ready for that, and that's also equally exciting to see to work on those details. So, by the way, don't tell anybody I said that with the internet. I actually work in like web security, so that's not awkward.
Who provides the tech? Like, do they all have to have a laptop as like the criteria course?
Yeah, like these kids do. These kids, their school provides that. And that's actually something when I first started, I was looking at. Like, how does that cost end up like weighing out? So my goal was like, well, how much would textbooks cost? Right, like a math textbook, right? 2 math textbooks. What 3 textbooks? And if I found a model that was like, all right, for the cost of 3 textbooks, you can get all of this, it'd be worth it. And that's what basically a Chromebook is. There's lots of different like versions of that now. They're even cheaper. So if you don't have that, you can do this at the library with internet connection. So you could, yeah. So that's another reason why it's like, why am I so like, I use the cloud, do these kinds of things? It's because it's an accessibility issue. Like it's like it sucks to have to do that. You need a computer to code. It's like sort of not true anymore. So yeah.
I teach high school girls, and I've done it for 3 years. We just meet on Fridays, and I can 100% confirm our technology stack is identical to yours with the task thing.
Yeah.
So we use Cloud9,
yeah, right now.
GitHub, and Slack, and that is our trifecta of
It works.
everything.
It works.
Exactly.
Yeah. It just works. That's awesome. Yeah. That's cool.
I'm going to ask you for a demo of when you said you could see everyone's cursor or something.
Yes.
Like
Yes. In
that.
Cloud9.
Can you talk a little bit? Just
Yeah.
a tiny bit?
Yeah. So in Cloud9, let me load that up.
Because one of the biggest challenges has been trying to converge their code, like handling
Yes.
requests, or one year we tried to have each of them have their own website, domain, everything with GitHub, and they can push stuff automatically. And they thought that was great, but they really were in bubbles.
Yes. Yeah. The idea is to make it so they're always working with the soft skills and the hard skills together.
Yes.
That's a challenge. Yeah. I mean, swirl along this roller coaster here. There we go.
Because when they get stuck by themselves, they, especially high school girls, will freeze.
They will wander. Yes.
Freeze.
Oh, freeze. Oh, yeah.
They broken.
Yeah. Like what happens next? Yeah. You know?
Oh, broken. Oh, yeah.
That is why I have my cat, because cell phones I feel change the game in teaching and everything. That's I don't know how I feel about that. So I avoid that. I've been dodging it. So yeah. So Cloud 9, you said you work with Cloud 9?
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, in Cloud 9 you can see cursors flipping around. Actually, like those little colors right there. Like that's
Those are other kids working on the same repo, or they're working on the same.
yeah, same workspace. Yeah.
The same workspace.
Yeah.
Oh
So
my gosh! So they only have one login. They all have the same login.
they use the same workspace, but they actually have different logins.
Okay.
It's right here. So you can basically share a workspace and choose who has read, write access to it, and then you can like make the whole application public, the editor public. Generally speaking, we like just make everything public. All of this is just public, by the way. So yeah, that's the basic idea. They all make accounts. Cloud9, they just recently got acquired by Amazon, so the rules have kind of changed. But for those of us who've been using it for a while, we kind of get to use the old rule set. I don't know when they're going to kind of figure out how to make that better, but I'm good. but essentially, what you can do is like make student accounts. So basically, you basically say, all right, here's like they'll get in their email like an account to log into, and then you share the different workspaces with them. We generally use about 2 or 3 different workspaces. So we make 2 clones of the same, or 3 clones of the same repo, and then they all have access to it. And then when they're kind of picking what storage to work on, they pick which workspace they want to be working.
Okay, great.
And that way I can kind of jump in and out. I always have it open. And it's just like having like 10 tabs open. It's not really like, you know. And that's why I like, again, like taking out the DevOps side of it. It's like to work in 3 different workspaces like is easy when it's just like 3 different tabs. It's hard when it's like 3 different computers and like 9 different people. It gets exponentially more difficult. And that's something that was just impossible remotely.
We're right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's basically how I figure out. I mean, until Cloud 9 says, all right, we're done with you, Kendall. That's probably where I'll be.
I do have a legacy account and it's like $1 a month.
Yes. Yeah. That's basically it.
I hope you keep on this.
I know. That's I think why they've been dragging their feet because like Amazon, I don't know if they quite figured out how to do that same thing. I don't care. They say it's going to be up for a while, and I'm sticking with it. So. Any other kind of questions? Cool. Awesome. Thank you so much.